Suspicion. Come with us, we on a suspicion. We on a suspicion. Roll with us, we on a suspicion. Suspicion, we got this now. Come on, let's talk about it. Let's talk about sistership, we got this now. Come on, let's talk about it. Let's talk about sistership, we got this now. Come on, let's talk about it. Let's talk about sistership, we got this now. Come on, let's talk about it. We're my sisters, we got this, sisters. You roll with me and I roll with you. We're my sisters, we got this, sisters. You roll with me and I roll with you. Substance, sis, you know we on a mission, no games. Help each other get over some things. Real strength bring change. Cause we've been through the rain. Now it's time to shine like blame. Let's talk about life and skills. We building up our quality to right wills. We rolling out of poverty, love heals. So we become the prodigy of how a sistership could be a really hot commodity. Stand together, we united, hold hands. Support each other's dreams and our plans. Doing everything we can. Just to show we understand the power of a friendship, fam. Live life on purpose. Together we learn it. Yeah, let's talk. We don't want to see you hurt. And we here for each other, no matter the color. Networking, that's for sure and for certain. Yeah, we on a suspicion. Come with us, we on a suspicion. We on a suspicion. Go with us, we on a suspicion. We're my sisters, we got this, sisters. You roll with me and I roll with you. We're my sisters, we got this, sisters. You roll with me. With your sistership, we got this now. Come on, let's talk about it. Let's talk about sistership, we got this now. Come on, let's talk about it. Let's talk about sistership, we got this now. Come on, let's talk about it. Let's talk about sistership, we got this now. Come on, let's talk about it.
Hey, Therese, what's today? He said, she said. It's all yours. Enjoy.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Midday Tea with your co-host, Sharia Moore. Today, we're going to have some fun with the Queenagers. We got the Oracle here, Mama C. Woo! And her partner in crime, Jude. Can you hear us? Oh, yeah. There she goes. All right.
Jane,
AKA
Spicy.
Spicy, yes. So we're going to have it hot and spicy today with a little pinch of wisdom. How you like that?
Yeah, sounds good. That sounds good.
So last week we had some fun talking about the different topics that people post on Facebook. So this week we're going to continue that dialogue on the questions, the comments, and the taboo subjects that people don't really want to, let's say, air their dirty laundry, but it's not going to be dirty, it's going to be fun. So we're going to start with a question. And the question is it true that a man has to like a woman a little bit more than she likes him?
I don't think so. I can tell you at this stage of my life, if I like a man, I'm going after him. And if he rejects me, I move on. I'm telling you, at this stage of my life, that's exactly how I feel.
Well, you know what? Yeah. I agree with you, Jane. When a man exhibits a lack of interest, you move on. Yep. And, you know, it may be someone you really care about, but if that person is not caring about you in the same way, then you move on. I mean, I think a woman has to always love herself more than she loves a man. Otherwise, she's going to get caught up in the web of pain and suffering and rejection and you know, all the other negative issues that come into play when that man doesn't love her back. So you really have to love yourself. And, you know, it may hurt because, you know, time is precious. And if we're going to waste time sulking and moaning and groaning and whining because a man doesn't like us or love us, then, you know, that's a sign to yourself that you have low insecurity, low esteem and high insecurity, and you need to work on that. Because when you love yourself, you move right on. Next.
Yep, that's exactly how I feel. Same way. I think that you learn that as you get older. I think as you get older in years, you you know, you learn to love yourself more and allow a man to come in and join you in that love, and you share that with him.
Oh, absolutely. You know, there are a lot of people, a lot of men and women who don't know what love is and don't know how to express it. And if that's the case, you know, at 66, and Jane, I know you'll agree with me, we don't have time to play cat and mouse games with people who never figured out what love really is and don't know how to express it. I don't have time to play mama bear to baby bear, okay? And if a man
at this stage, at this age, you would, if they don't know, adios.
Adios. They're not going to know, because you know what? Knowing it requires a process of learning. And if you're not willing to learn, then it's not something that you deemed important in your life. And if love is not important in your life, I'm not even interested. I'm not even going to consider the prospect of being in a relationship with you at this point in my life.
Right. Exactly. No, I agree.
Worth the energy. It's not worth the energy. I have a few questions just off of that little bit that both of you ladies brought up. So Jane said, if she, at this stage of the game in her life, if she sees someone or she's interested, she'll go after them. What does go after mean? Because I think the young ladies out here need to have clarity on what that means. And we're not talking about Lemonade style Beyonce, you know, going after, you know, fashion windows and stuff like that, because you're trying to get attention. So can you clarify for them and for us what that means?
Well, I think approaching them, engaging in a conversation with them, going by what your gut tells you about them. You know, physical attraction is really nice, but you can get engaged into a conversation with someone, and although the face is nice and the body is nice, the brain might not be so nice. You know, the attitude might not be so nice. So when you engage in a conversation with someone, and, you know, maybe you have, I hate to use this word, test questions to see, you know, how many children do you have? You know, that kind of, what kind of relationship, they're going to tell you right away what kind of relationship they have with their kids, that kind of thing. I think all of those, that first 5 minutes of conversation, you pretty much, I don't know, I'm sure Deb will agree, at our stage of the game, you pretty much know, like, yeah, okay, you know what, let's be friends. Everybody can use another friend, kind of thing.
Absolutely, you know? Absolutely. And no matter what your desire is with respect to that particular person, the first stage should always be the development of friendship. Because like I've said on many occasions before, a lot of people will look up one day and realize they don't even like that person, or they'll roll over and look over at that person in the bed and realize, I don't even like this person, you know? So if you don't like them, you don't have a strong foundation for growing forward with this person. So I think always, and this is something I didn't understand when I was a younger woman, that friendship has to be the beginning stages. And that can take quite some time. But, you know, when you're young, you know, and your hormones are raging and acting, doing backflips across the riptides of life and all of that, you know, you're going for it. But when you're older, you know what? I always tell people I've had enough sex to last me for the rest of my life. If I never have any more sex, I'm good. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Besides, look,
Yep.
I know how to sex myself up. I don't need to wait for a man to do that. I haven't had sex with a man in 10 years, but I've had sex.
Well, I want to show you something. I'm going to share this with you because I'm sitting in the right spot. So here's the thing. I always say this as I get older.
Sorry, Jane,
this is why God made these. This is why. See them batteries?
Hello, girl. Hello. Let me tell you. Woo!
And that is why that drawer is full, because I am not going to come home to some guy that goes, "What's for dinner?" Yeah, that ain't happening no more.
You know,
Instead, I turn to this. I go to that.
hello. Girl, please, I've learned some maneuvers, and the best sex I ever had was with myself. And then I can roll over and go to sleep, or get up and fix myself something to eat if I want. I don't have to wash nobody's funky drawers but my own. And my drawers are funky, I can tell you.
I hear you loud and clear,
you know?
girl.
So
oh, yeah.
my younger granddaughter's over in the corner going, oh. But you see, when she's our age, she'll understand. You know what I'm saying?
It's hilarious. But you know, when my grandfather passed away, I asked my grandmother if she was going to get married again, and she said, "Oh no." She said, "I've ironed enough sheets and socks to last me 2 lifetimes." And you know, back in the day, I don't know if people still do that, but that's what they did.
Don't. They don't even iron their clothes.
I know.
No.
You know, so
are you kidding me? My
ironed
used to iron
pillowcases. She ironed my grandfather's socks.
Underwear.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
And I remember my grandfather just coming home. He would come home from work, you know, and he would say hi to us if we were at the house, and he would go straight to the room, and we wouldn't even see him. We wouldn't even know he was there. You know, she would bring it when it was time to eat. He would come out, get his food, and then go back to his cave, his room. And he had his chair in there, and he would just relax and rest and do what he did. But my grandmother did everything. He just brought home the bacon, and she fried it up and cleaned it and all that other stuff.
Exactly. But men today, they and I say this often, they want wifey benefits without husband responsibility.
Yes.
And you know what? At this point in my life, that ain't happening. Okay.
Right.
I want to be wine, dine, and spoiled. And at this point in my life, I don't really know what spoiled is. I was saying to my daughter this morning, I'm like, she put up something, said, "Oh, here come these spoiled Capricorns." I'm saying, really? I don't know what spoiled is. I've spent my whole life spoiling everybody else. Now I want to be spoiled at this point in my life. I want to know what that feels like. I want to just embellish myself in being spoiled, because everybody seems to enjoy it.
And you know, honestly, when you know, we've been in and out of relationships at this stage of the game, and you know yourself, when I laugh when people or younger women say, "I want a 50-50 relationship," and I keep saying to them, you find that combination, patent it. You'll be damn rich in no time, because no relationship is 50-50. Some days you're 20, some days you're 90, but it's never 50-50, never.
And that's the reality, Jane. Unfortunately, too many women are walking around with this lala mentality about what they want. They have, you know, the image may be beautiful, but most often it's not reality. So you find somebody and then you're trying to fit this man into your images of what a relationship should look like, what he should do, what you should do. There's too much fairy tale wrapped up in the process of what a relation is and is not.
Yes, agree.
You know,
So I want to come on and tell you that I'm looking at a post here that says, when your friends don't respect your relationship, are they really your friends? What do you think about that?
Well, you know what?
Depends
It's not
on the
always
friend.
that it's not always that your friend is not respecting your relationship. You know what? Often when your friend, if that's a true friend, that friend is trying to protect you. And the male person will say, oh, that's not your friend because they all up in your business. Well, a man who says that is a man I'd never trust, okay?
Right, exactly.
Because when you have real friends, you know that those people got your back and they care about you and they're going to tell you the truth. Now, if you want to go and tell your man what your friend said and have him rebuke or rebuttal that, then that's on you. But
Yeah,
if you got somebody who is hating on you in your relationship, that's a different thing. That's not a friend.
no,
right.
it's not.
Right.
It's jealousy. It's, you know, manipulation. It's all
Absolutely.
type of stuff. And us being in the relationship, we need to learn our own personal boundaries. You know, when we're dealing with people, your friends really, if they don't have the emotional stability, they don't really need to know everything, because
Absolutely.
they won't be able to take what you said because you were pouring your heart out because you're human. And then, you know, let's say if you guys are couples and you double date or you go out together and you're all friends, they won't know how to compartmentalize that, you know,
Right.
and
Right.
put it on the shelf and continue on holding grudges and all. Like, nobody has time for that. So if they don't have the emotional wherewithal to be able to hold what you're pouring, so their container must be able to hold what you're pouring into them, then it's a good idea to keep it to yourself, or if you need a therapist, get a therapist. Right?
Yeah.
But you know what?
Yeah.
One of the things I've always done, I've always had much older friends. My friends were always 10 to 15 years older than me. They were wiser than me, and they were very protective of me. So
Yeah.
when they said something to me, I listened, and I knew that what they were saying was based on their love for me. And
Right.
I would take that into account. Like, for instance, there was this guy who kind of latched on to me. I mean, he saw me, I saw him, we were attracted. You know, he owned this nightclub in New York. He drove a Bentley. He had a really nice place down on 2nd Avenue. He had all of the trappings, but he didn't have any emotional intelligence. His intelligence went from the waist down, not the neck up. And
Right.
my girlfriend said to me, because she'd known him for a very long time, she said, don't you fall in love with this man. He's a player. He's a player. Okay, he's not about anything but playing. He's not going to get serious. He's not going to give you what you deserve. So don't do it.
Yeah.
I listened to her, and you know what? She was absolutely right. Absolutely right.
Yeah. And you know, Deb, I think sometimes we don't want to listen. We hear it, but we don't listen, and then we get burnt. But
Oh,
it's
Those red
interesting
flags.
that those friends who tried to warn you are still there to catch you. That is a true friend.
That is a true,
Yeah.
exactly. But one of the things I did was I listened. Like I said, I had, my friends were 10 to 15 years older than me. And I knew that they loved me genuinely, and I
Yeah.
loved them. So whenever we talked about anything that was relative to relationships or quality of life or whatever, we held that in high esteem. We held each other's opinion in high esteem.
Right.
And
Right.
9.999% of the time, we were right when we assessed something and we shared it with one another. So it kept us from making certain mistakes. At least it kept me from making mistakes I didn't have to make.
Right.
And I'm glad that as I have aged, because I'm not growing older, I'm aging. Okay, because that's the natural process. Old, that's a whole nother story and a whole nother show. But you know, I think that when we understand and have people around us that we know really care about us, a lot of times we're more likely to listen. I would say the only exception is the mother-daughter relationship often, because daughters tend to think that their mothers don't know what they're talking about. So they tend to just she poo-poo what we say.
What
Until
age do you
somebody
think
else
that
comes.
happens? What age, Deb? What age do you think?
I think that age across the board.
I want to jump on real quick and say we have Lady Wisdom in the chat room, and she says friends don't have to agree with every decision you make, including the person you pick to share time with.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you know what? The bottom line here is, if you have people in your life that you trust, and you're not going to tell everybody everything, you're going to be, if you have a discerning spirit, you're going to know what to share, what not to share, and if to share. And that's part of the process of discernment. And if you lack discernment, then you're going to fall into many a pothole and a pitfall of life. And that's the bottom line.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
So we need to be able to discern those red flags.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
The red
I know
flags that are on fire.
Yeah.
Drop it like it's hot, and we don't mean the panties.
So I'm scrolling, and as Terry calls it, I'm trolling, because we trolling today, right? And I see something that says, I'm just looking for some understanding from the ladies. What's your definition of a man?
Oh, yes. I was going to bring that one up. Could you read off all right, go ahead, Tiffany. I'm going to let you read off some of the dialogue, and then we'll let.
No, go ahead, Sharice. I'm going to find the dialogue and I'll pop back in, but I just wanted to throw that question out to you.
Okay, so I can't see it because my computer's acting really slow, but he asked the question, what's the definition of a real man? And my response was something to the effect of one who has built character, who has put away childish behaviors, has embraced his weakness, his strengths and weaknesses, and knows where he stands in life. Pretty much, that's what I said.
Absolutely, and is willing to take responsibility.
Right, so this guy says, well, what do you mean by childish behaviors? So I went to the Wikipedia, and I went to Google, and I posted 3 explanations of childish. And he responds to me, you did not have to post, but he said, you didn't have to post 3 explanations of childish. And so and then he said, have a blessed day. So he dismissed me, right? So I said to him, that was
childish.
That was very childish. So I said to him, well, if you had the question, then that means somebody else had the question. So I figured I would give you clarity on the question that you asked. So for me, I thought that the answer was very clear, and a lot of other women answered, oh, my father, and then they were like, well, what does that mean? It means that in her eyes, that her father, she viewed him as a man, a respectable, honorable person who, carried out what they said. Nobody's perfect, and we're not looking for perfection here. We're just looking for someone who understands where they are, where they came from, and that this is a journey of growth. And it's not about anger, and it's not about ego, and it's not about any of that.
Absolutely.
And for me, it comes back to boils back down to loving yourself, which you said earlier. If they don't love themselves, they are incapable of loving anyone else, whether it's a child, a wife, a partner. It's just not going to happen.
Right.
And, that's my perspective.
A lot of people, a lot of women and men get that chemical thing that goes on between two people confused, okay?
Yes.
They think that that's love. That is not love. That is normal physiological chemical reaction to another
Lust.
person, okay?
Lust.
Yeah, lust. I mean, and it could just be a response, an attraction, you know, because sometimes I've been attracted but not lustful over somebody.
Right.
So there's an attraction that goes on, and then if it's mutual, it often then will turn into lust from there.
Yeah.
But people get, you know, love is an action word, okay? It is not a response to somebody else's, to the chemical thing that goes on between men and women, or two people, period.
Right.
So, you know, if a man is not respectful, if he's not loyal, and if, you know, I like the words of Martin Luther King when he talked about the content of a person's character. That is
Mhm.
the defining factor there. I look at the content of someone's character, and if
Mhm.
they have a crumb bum mentality and a low life character, I'm not interested in
Right.
that, because I'm a
Right.
highly intelligent woman, and mediocre dialogue bores the hell out of me. If you have no real substance, and we can't dialogue about many different things, and you respect my opinion and I respect your opinion, then we have nothing to grow with, nothing to build with. You go on, because I'm definitely going on about my business.
So
Yeah.
for me, I'm sapiosexual, right? So
Yeah,
what
me
that
too.
means for those in the in out there world, that means that you gotta you gotta you gotta get me here.
It's
Like
Yeah.
what's up here.
Yeah.
if we're not here,
Yeah.
then we're not getting down there. And that's just
Right.
the bottom line. So I'm not gonna
Yeah.
waste my time. If we can't have conversations on multiple topics, you know, and I'm talking about real good conversations, not
Yeah.
arguments, not you know, healthy debates are okay, but nothing like I'm right, you're wrong, like not that type of
Right.
stuff. You know,
Yeah.
I want to know that you are intelligent enough to research things and bring back information and stuff like that, because there's just too much shallowness going on in
Yes,
the
there is.
world these days, you know, and it's just really a hot mess.
It's more than a hot mess.
But you know what, Therese? Therese, what I so admire, I wish I had the knowledge that your generation has now. It took me till this time of my life to realize that all of those things you just said, I could have used back when I was in my 20s and 30s. Okay.
Yeah.
What I
Yeah.
so admire about your generation is, in fact, you do take the advice of other women. You watch, you observe. And I so admire that about this new generation of women. And honestly, back in the day when your grandpa died and, you know, your grandma said, no, I've ironed enough sheets. And, you know, that was a woman's duty. Okay. I remember when I was getting married, my mother said to me, you know what your duties are, right? And I, what do you mean? And she said, you know, your duties, your sexual duties, your household duties, those are, you don't want to do them. You have to do them. Those are your duties to your husband.
Right.
And that was their mindset. And it wasn't until, unfortunately, when my husband died, that I broke out into this person that I'm becoming now. And I so admire your generation because you already know that. You already know a lot of that.
Well,
And
I didn't.
yeah, but you learned it young. You learned it
Yeah.
young is what I'm saying.
Yeah. And you know what the crazy thing is that because I started young, by the time I was going to say like 30, I had the experience of like a 45, 50-year-old woman. So my friendships were with women, and still are, with women who are in their 50s, mid 60s, you know, and we get along fantastically because, you know, I enjoy the conversation. I enjoy the company, you know, I enjoy the genuineness of the exchange, you know.
Right.
A lot of times, not all, but some women that are my age, they just don't have that. They don't have that depth, and they don't have that wisdom. So I don't really find anything that attracts me to that, you know, for us to have lasting, meaningful friendships. And as far as like the relationship sector is concerned, I want to touch on this for a second. When I got married, I was that, you know, because I came from a very religious background, and it was instilled in me that, you know, as a woman, you take care of the home, you know, you do the laundry, you cook, you take care of the children, you know, you do everything, you know, your responsibility is to keep the home beautiful and make it feel welcoming and all of that type of stuff. So I have this very strong, nurturing, I'm gonna say, the mantle that I carry, right? So when I got married, because of the state of mind that I was in, I didn't attract the partner that I should have attracted. I attracted someone, I say, that I needed to attract so that I could learn the lesson. So now that I'm divorced, when that next partner arrives, I can see it. But I did all of those things. And because of who he was, he still went out and did what he did. But I didn't understand that that wasn't about me, that was about him. So for years, I blamed myself, you know, maybe I could have been a better, you know, wife, you know, instead of packing his lunch, you know, maybe I should, you know, so it's like all these things. And there's a cliche that goes, oh, you know, if a woman doesn't take care of her house, she's not a real woman, and all this other type of stuff. And then you're talking about the 50-50 relationships. Well, times have changed, and we go back to that thing that we were talking about on Sunday, and that's the communication. Because let's face it, if the man is not earning, and $100,000 these days is not a lot of money, that's the amount that you need to make to live a normal life. So if he's not making mid to high six figures, you're going to have to go to work or compromise for a lifestyle maybe less than what you deserve, or very, very, very modest, right? So if both of you are working, then there needs to be communication as to how things are going to get done. And then if you have children on top of it, they've got basketball, they've got Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts, or whatever they call it these days now, non-gender specific. They got all these different activities. Who's taking who to the activities? You know, how's this all going to happen? So the flow of communication has to be really, really tight, because if not, the whole thing crumbles and it just completely falls apart. So there's a lot of moving parts and missing pieces to these comments and statements that are being made. And I always tell my clients in the financial industry, one size doesn't fit all, because what's good for you might not be good for my other client, and vice versa, because of the age, your status, you know, where you are in your life. There's a whole bunch of different factors. So there's a lot of things that we have to factor in. But I want to touch on something, and I want to get you guys input on this. Mama C said something about spoiled. Now, I've been called high maintenance on multiple occasions by different people. And I tell them, I am not high maintenance. I live a certain lifestyle. I know what I want, and it's not up for discussion. It's not up for compromise. You know, years ago, even when I was married, you know, certain things you can switch out, but don't switch out my laundry detergent. Don't switch out my orange juice, and don't switch out my bread. Those things, you know, have to remain a certain brand when we go food shopping, right? So that's not high maintenance. That is those are my preferences. So
Right.
give us some wisdom as to why that's important to be able to maintain the standards that you've set in your life for what you want.
Well, I think that we all have our preferences and they should be respected. Like whatever my preferences are, then I want those to be respected. And when I say spoiled, I don't mean, fly me to Paris for lunch or, take me on a vacation every weekend or whatever. I mean, yes, I'd love to be able to go away with my companion. And I say companion because I don't really need to ever get married again. I'd like to have a companion, but, I'd like him to know that I'd like to go away for the weekend, and the two of us enjoy each other, get away from the norm of our everyday routine and do some special things. I like flowers. I like to eat out, and I don't, and I'm a very picky eater these days, so I don't have to have steak and lobster, and soup and salad is good for me, but if you know the things that I like and you just ignore those things, you don't try and cater to those things that I like as I would cater to those things that you like, then you're telling me that I have less value to you than you may have to me. So I want to be treated well, because I've always treated everybody in my life, all my life, well. And if I back off from you, it's because you've done something to me that is not acceptable. I have boundaries, and I have those things that are non-negotiable for me. You know what I'm saying? So I think that, again, communication comes into play when it comes to him knowing what I like and I knowing what he likes. And we making an effort to do the nice things for one another and not take each other for granted. Because I think people take each other for granted way too much. And at this point in my life, I absolutely unequivocally refuse to be taken for granted in a relationship.
Yep. Yeah. And Therese, you brought out a good point in regard to your laundry detergent, your bread. Those, if someone you're in a relationship doesn't feel that's important, doesn't see the importance of that to you, get out of the relationship. Because here's the thing, although other people watching this right now may think that's trivial, it's not. If it's what you find important, someone who loves you will respect that importance as well, no matter how little they may think. Because look, battles are fought in a relationship. I don't care who it is. If keeping the peace means buying you the bread you like, then buy you the bread you like. And you will do the same.
Absolutely.
Yeah, right, Deb? I mean, it's about respecting each other. Those little things mean a lot to grow a relationship in a good, solid foundation.
Absolutely. And one of the mantras that I hold, Jane, and I've developed a long time ago that I am living up to, I'd rather be happy than right.
Yes.
You want to be right? Be right. I want to be happy, which means I have to do all the things that support that choice of lifestyle for me. I have to make good choices that are in alignment with peace of mind, because I always tell people peace of mind is the fertilizer that produces happiness. If you have no peace of mind, if your mind is always up in arms, if there's a battle going on with your mind and your heart is trying to do one thing because it only knows love, and the mind is trying to is being guided by the ego. Oh my God, you got one hell of an internal battle going on.
Do.
And who needs that? That is not good for the mind, body, spirit, emotions. That's not good at all. So I decided I'd rather be happy than right. You want to be right, you can be right. I have no problems with that. But I choose to be happy. And if you choose to mess with my happiness, then you're going to find yourself outside of my life. Because if you get the minimum I ask from anybody is that you support my happiness. Right. But when you enhance my happiness and I'm enhancing your happiness, oh, we have one happy fest going on that we both are going to get to enjoy and live happily ever after together doing.
It's a win-win. It's a win-win. It's the win-win situation. But, I had to go through that so that I know now what to look for, and what to say. These are the things this is the type of food that I eat, and like on last week's show, I said, I related something to Red Lobster. There's nothing wrong with Red Lobster and I'm not above it, but I don't eat shellfish. So there's nothing really, and I don't eat chicken so there's really nothing there for me to eat that I would enjoy. So there's no reason for you to take me there. You know what I'm saying? I would prefer maybe to go to a Greek place or, a small Greek restaurant or something, Mediterranean, where I would enjoy the food more because I have a vegetarian lifestyle. So people see things and then they'll make a judgment automatically about the person without having that conversation about why they want to do the things or why they request certain things or why they live the way that they do. And so learning that now, my questions are, what type of food do you eat? If they're big meat eaters or big pork eaters, guess what? That's not the man for me because I don't engage in that. And it doesn't make him bad or wrong, but he's just not the man for me. Are you health conscious? Are you, taking your vitamins and your supplements, and are you taking care of your body?
Absolutely.
Do you drink a lot? I don't drink. I drink socially every once in a while, but are you having beers every night? If you do, that's great, but that's not my thing. So he's going to want to go maybe to a brewery and I'm going to be like, you know what I'm saying? So you have to decide what's going to work for you so that the compromise doesn't become a tug of war.
There has to be a level of compatibility, whether it's friendship with your girlfriends or a romance with a guy. There has to be compatibility. And ladies, whoever's watching, watch out for the man. You say, oh, well, I don't eat a Red Lobster. And they say, oh, well, you too good for Red Lobster? Run.
Run.
Yes,
run. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Because you'll get those kind of answers across the board because they need to control you in order to feel good about themselves. But you can never feel better about yourself or elevate your self-esteem by pulling other people down.
Right.
That's the bottom line.
Exactly. Yeah. So on that topic of food and restaurants, a question that was posted was, ladies, in a sentence, can you explain why you do this? And it's a male and a female sitting next to each other, and a woman is reaching over and eating off of the man's plate.
So, don't do that. I'm saying.
I don't do that. I've never done that. I've never done that either. I think that's yucky. Okay?
Well, I'm guilty.
You eat on your plate, and I'll eat on my plate.
I'm guilty, and I'll tell you why. Not that I have to pick off the plate. Let's say I ordered some shrimp scampi, and they might have ordered the lobster, but I don't want the lobster. I want the shrimp scampi. So when the plate comes to the table, I'm not eating off their plate. I just want to taste a little bit. So I reach over and get me can I get a little piece? I ask first, and then I go back to my plate. So I'm really not eating off the plate. Some men hate that, but if I want to order the same thing you ordered, why when we go to a restaurant, I got to order the same thing? can't we switch up and taste each other's plate a little bit so we can get more for our bang?
So that's a conversation that needs to be had in the dating process.
Exactly.
Because for me, like I just said, you know, we eat similar stuff. So if we go to a restaurant, like I want to order like 3 or 4 things, and then we're just gonna share and just eat. You know what I'm saying? So we have our own.
That's what I'm talking about.
Buffet. You know, but like if we're out someplace and I ordered a plate and he ordered a plate, I'm gonna say to him ahead of time, "Oh, that looks good. Is it okay if I have some when it comes?" And then he'll say, "Oh, sure." But like my daughter, you can't eat off of her plate. Like somebody else can't eat off her plate. And if you do, you gotta ask. So like if she's starving, I won't ask her for any of her food unless she offers. You know, my brother one time tried to do that and she had a fit. So it just depends on the person, the circumstance, but it has to be communicated, you know?
Yes.
And
You know what? I think it's fine if he orders a plate, I order, he orders one dish, I order another dish, but then let's get 2 plates and let's kind of do it buffet style.
Yeah.
I'll get a little, but I'm not going to reach over and eat off of your plate, okay?
Right.
I like
unless
the
they're
buffet
French
style.
fries, unless they're French fries and I have a baked potato.
And there's a difference in that.
Yeah.
There's a difference. I'm not going to eat off your plate. I don't want you to eat off my plate because I think that's disgusting. But it just came to the table and I want a little sample.
No, I would do what Deb said. I would ask the waiter or waitress, can you bring us 2 small plates?
Right.
And then, you know, and then exchange. So
exactly.
yeah, I've never been one to go after somebody's plate.
Yeah, me either. I don't, you know, I think it's fine to share, but there's a way to share. And if we have plates that I can take a little bit off of your plate, you take a little off of your dish, you take a little bit off my dish. We're not eating off each other's plate. We're sharing. And I think that's fine.
But you know, my question goes back to whoever asked the gentleman that asked that. What does he do when he's sitting at a restaurant with a woman and she goes to pick at his plate? What does he do about it? I'd be curious to know.
Well, I always ask before I go to the plate, but you know I'm going before I even get there because I'm looking hard. So you know I'm getting ready to get to your plate.
I know this creature
but
well.
There is a difference though. There is a difference though, because if I'm at a 5-star restaurant, I know I'm not gonna reach over and be in that plate.
Right.
But if I'm home or we relaxing and we Netflix and chill, or we in I don't know, friendly somewhere, and I see a French fry right there, you know me already, so you gonna know I'm looking at that French fry real hard. So you gonna say, "Oh, go and get it."
Wait a minute. So at the
you know I'm looking at it.
restaurant,
That's the relationship, sharing with your partner. So when men say they don't like it, to me it's like, can I get that little fry right there, sweetie? So I don't know. Maybe it is a difference.
You always order bread plates.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
If you're at a 5-star restaurant, let him cut off the piece. Yeah. Let her cut off the piece, put it on the little plate, and slide it across the table.
Absolutely.
And it makes it very, very simple. And again, I think we need to have an etiquette and manners show.
Yeah, that's the problem. There's a lot of people are lacking etiquette and understanding, particularly when you go out. When you're home is a different story. Right. But when you go out, you know, there are certain mores. I was watching my youngest granddaughter eat one day, and I'm going to tell on her a little bit. And so I was sitting over there watching, and she was sitting there, and she had her mouth down in the plate. I said, "You home? That's okay. Don't do that when you go out to a restaurant, please."
That's where our young people have kind of lost it, because when we were younger, we were taught to go to a restaurant and how to eat. I remember always going out to eat.
I took her out all the time.
I would go to, not Red Lobster, what was that? Beefsteak Charlie's, and I would have lobster, and I would have shrimp, and I would have all kinds. So I knew how to eat that kind of stuff. I went to Oh gosh, the different conventions. What name some of those conventions that you were at, that we used to go to? So I
Well,
knew,
we used to go to political
right.
cocktail parties, community events. We went to the 5-star restaurants and all of that. And I took her with me. So she learned the dynamics of how to do what it is she needs to do when she's out in a dining setting. But the kids today, I think life has flipped so much that, number one, there isn't the money to do that. And I only had one kid. So when you have one kid, you can do for one kid what you can't do for 5 or 4. It's a whole different story, especially when the income is not there. So there's a lot of flipping of lifestyles that's gone on. And now with the COVID, lifestyles have flipped to such a degree that it's just unbelievable. So the things that you would normally be able to teach your children in an out of the house what's the word I'm looking for? Dining setting is totally not happening these days.
Right.
So Therese, I agree with you on that, because I mean the socialization skills are completely different. Even with my kids, I see it.
Different. Yeah. They have no idea. Like, we'll go out and we're with other people. They're like, well, which fork do I start with? I'm like, you start from the outside and work your way in. And so the basics, that we've learned when we were younger are not being taught in the home. It's not the school's responsibility to do that, but just the basic things. You don't, even for text messaging and emails and Twitter and social media, you don't answer an email the same way you answer a text. It's different. And vice versa. People, the boundaries are off. Like, there's no morals anymore. Anything just goes, and that's why we're in shambles. The way that we are, and
Socially,
socially, and then it leads in, can a good woman fix a broken man?
No.
Now, my and my thing is he really, like, what are you considering broken?
Right.
Because there's different degrees of different things in your life that can be addressed and switched around very, very easily. But if they're meaning broken by, needing therapy or some trauma and stuff, that's something different. But if they're saying he's broken because he doesn't have manners or he doesn't have etiquette, or that's a learned behavior. That's something that you can change. But we're not here to change and or fix anybody. We're here to enlighten what's already there and make it look, feel, and taste better.
Absolutely. Yeah, exactly. The bottom line here is that,
and listen, if you can't make it feel better, you just need these.
I know to come over to your house for some batteries, okay? But you know what? My rabbit broke long time ago, so I gotta get a new one.
Therese, spicy. That's why we call her spicy, because you never know what spicy is gonna pull out. I really see a drawer full of batteries. What we do with that, spicy?
Yeah.
What we do with them batteries?
Yeah. Well, hey, you got to be prepared, girl. You've got to be prepared. It's winter.
Just in case the lights go out.
June, you on here? Do you hear spicy? We're gonna have a conversation after this one, because we need a meeting before the meeting, because she pulled out a whole thing of batteries.
Hilarious.
Jane, I know what to get you for your birthday to go with those batteries.
All right. Yeah, girl. I hear ya. All right. And I'll provide the batteries.
Hello.
Hey, Therese. I see one more here. I know we're almost to the 12 o'clock time, but there's one that says, I'm going to start a new group called The Lonely Miserable Can't Get or Keep a Man Single Ladies Group. Now, how come when we are single, men always turn around and say, we can't keep a man and we're lonely and we're
First
single?
of all, first of all, I'm single by choice.
Mhm.
Me
I'm not
too.
single
Me too.
because I cannot find a man, and I'm not single because I cannot find a suitable man. I decided that after my divorce, I needed to spend time to myself so that I can understand who I am.
Absolutely.
And if I choose in that time to entertain conversations from different people, that's my business. That's my prerogative. It has nothing to do with them because we're not in a sexual relationship.
Right.
Only men with primitive minds think like that. And
Right.
we're not interested in primitive mentalities.
Right. Right. That's true. Very true.
Like, you know, what classifies us as miserable? What classifies a woman as miserable? You know,
Yeah.
for me,
I'm on a show now. I'll fix it when I'm finished.
yeah, for me, it always takes me back to from the male perspective. What have you not learned about a woman and or yourself and your responsibility to a woman, whether it's your mother, your sister, your niece, and then, you know, your partner, and then your lover, because those are all different relationships. And even in that post, I saw something that says, love does not exist. Love exists everywhere. And there's different types of love. So if you don't understand the premise behind it, then you're not going to get anything from anybody, anywhere.
Absolutely.
Right.
And like I say, love is our natural nature. And if you're not connected to your natural nature, then you're going to produce all kinds of garbage. And see, that's what garbage men are looking for, women who will take garbage.
And so a man that's statement about a miserable man or miserable, what was it, a miserable woman? Obviously, he is kicking off a relationship in his own miserable way.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because you get back what you give.
That's right.
You get back what you give. You give out misery, you're going to get misery.
But
you give out love, you're going to get love.
But you know what? And I agree. But you know what I think is behind that? If we go from one man to the next man to the next man to the next man, we will never find out how beautiful our life can be without a man. Okay.
Right. And
so that when we find when one comes into our space, we'll know that he's the right one because we've taken the time to love ourselves, to feel that energy just ruminate all inside of us, outside of us, all around us. And it's beautiful.
Yes, I agree. So
and that's 100. That's like 1,000% agree. You know.
Yeah.
And calling a woman miserable is like calling your mom miserable. Well, what are the circumstances that made her that way? You know, lack of attention, disrespect. You know, not feeling protected. You know, not having her back. You know,
absolutely
not putting her needs first. And then it's like a vicious cycle because if you have miserable women who are giving birth to children, they're putting that cycle again on top of those children who are being raised, whether they're male or female. And so this is a very serious topic that we need to like actually address and talk about again.
Absolutely.
Because people are still not getting it because they always want to point the finger at somebody else. But when you do that, there's 3 fingers pointing back at you. So
absolutely.
And the Buddhists always say the thing that makes you mad about someone is the thing about yourself that you refuse to address. Because each person you meet is a mirror of yourself in some way, shape,
in some way,
or form.
And understand that men who are narcissists, need women who are miserable and unhappy so that they can gain control over you and manipulate you for their own purposes.
Yep.
I have to say too, I mean, that's even for women, and you will notice, like Therese, you said, there's always a reflection of what that person brings to the table. You see it in yourself. And I remember as I started to lose weight and go on that journey, you know, I started to help people do that. And then I would hear certain comments like, oh, you know, she cheated or she didn't do that. But what I realized is that that was their own securities and not losing the weight that they wanted to lose instead of doing the work that I had already done.
Their excuse.
Right. And I would help them on their journey, but instead of allowing me to help them on their journey, and I can't help you on your journey. You have to be ready to do it on your own. I can just give you what I know. But you have to be ready to receive it. But instead of looking at what they wanted to do, it turned as a flip and an attack on me. Oh, she cheated.
Right.
She did this, she did that. Because they weren't there yet ready to lose the weight. They still wanted to eat. But they didn't want to take accountability for what they had done. So then it became a question of, there's a question on here that says, sometimes all it takes is a little observation to find out the book is nothing like the cover. And I read that and I said, Now, to that particular person, you know, it could be fine. That book is fine for them. But as I'm looking through it, I'm like, well, you know what? That book is not part of my journey. So I have to pull out. What their journey is their journey. Not that I'm judging them, but it's not correct for me. So I have to pull out. But then when you pull out, they either say that you're negative or, you know, you just want to control everything or a whole
Or you're a
lot at
nasty
you.
woman.
Of course you
Or
want
you're
to
a nasty
control
woman,
everything.
they call you.
Yeah. Of course you want to control everything because you are in control of the boundaries that you've put up for your life.
Right.
And when people cannot cross those boundaries, they get upset, they get annoyed, and they act out. But the bottom line here is that your physical, mental, and emotional stability is at stake, and it is not for sale. And that's it.
And
so
I have
if
to
you
say,
need to shut it down, you shut it down.
Yeah, and I have to say that, you know, in our journey of beginning the ladies' room, because we started as the ladies' room first, and then we switched over to the sistership, that was part of the journey. It was a lot of, she's too controlling, but there were boundaries that, you know, this is not what we're gonna do, and this is not what, okay, this is where you are. Okay, I understand that, but we have to respect each other's boundaries. So here, this is what I can do, and this is yours. Maybe this is yours. This is what I was supposed to do. This is the end of the road for me here. And I'm gonna give you this, but please respect everything else that I'm trying to tell you. And if you can't do that, we're gonna have an issue. So we actually had issues when we were building this because of that. And this saying that says, observation to find, you know, sometimes all it takes is a little observation to find out that the book is nothing like its cover. Now, to them, I'm not their cover, and to me, they're not our cover. Who's right or who's wrong? We're not judging. However, there are certain things that just don't gel together. And if you're trying to build something,
it's the content,
right? Yep. If you're trying to build something, in other words, I'm somebody who is into my health. So if I am trying to build something and I'm saying, whatever, and then you have someone in your circle who is now judging and putting out there, oh, don't trust her because she's cheating, or maybe I shouldn't take advice from her because she did it this way. You know, that's not someone who needs to be in my circle because I'm trying to move forward and help other people. And if you don't trust the advice that I'm trying to give you, then maybe we need to separate and go our separate ways. You might, in the end, come back and say, you know what, I was wrong. This is how I wanted it. Or I was a reflection of what you wanted to be. So now you're trying to attack me. So it was better to separate.
This is the thing.
And have your boundaries, like Cherie said, than to go through a whole group.
Right.
And after a while of being with each other, you know what it is. You know what it is. And you just say what it is. And then you either gonna call each other on it and say, this is what we're doing. Okay, this is what it is. We come to the table and we talk about it. Or if you decide, you know what, I'm not gonna talk about it with you, then we need to part our ways and go our separate ways, which pretty much happened with the ladies' room because they were asked to come to the table. Okay, hey, let's talk about this. Here's the paperwork, boom, boom, boom. Let's lay this out. And let's talk about how can we resolve these issues rather than splitting up. But when you cannot resolve the issues and one thinks that they're right and the other one is wrong, that's incorrect, and then you have a group of people who are saying, no, that's wrong, then you need to part your ways. and you can part your ways nicely, but then when it becomes ugly and you have to battle that in between, it becomes ridiculous. So a lot of people, and this is in Pennsylvania because a lot of people don't know exactly this whole story here that I'm telling.
Right.
And we're actually going over.
Yeah.
But dealing with a lot of women, okay, there's about 8, it was 8 of us, okay? There's personalities, there's changes, there's things that have to go on. I would always say, everybody has their lane. You have to stay in your lane. If you stay in your lane, we can get this done, and we can get this done correctly because we all play a role here. But if you're trying to now be in the lane that's not for you, and you want to be the head person in front, then there's an issue here because we need to make sure that everything runs smoothly. So when we couldn't get that done, we kind of had to separate and go that way. And everybody's like, what happened? You know, and not allowing or telling my story, and I'm kind of telling it now, only because I feel it's necessary, because you know what? It's a sistership, you know, and we go through challenges, we go through our boundaries, we go through certain things. But when you have a group of women and you say, you know what, let's come to the table, and they decide, you know what, I ain't gonna come to the table with you because you know what, the paperwork will explain to you what I'm telling you, and you don't come, we got an issue. Now we know what's what.
Yeah, so I want to respond to you, Tiffany, on a few different things that you said, and we can go over for a few minutes. I don't mind. First thing is perspective. Perspective and projection. People see things the way that they want to see them if they have not done the work for them to be emotionally and, let's say, physically, in your case, you know, or working towards those 2 goals in the right headspace. That's number 1. Number 2 is that when any type of business arrangement, agreement, any type of nonprofit, whatever you're doing, there has to be a contract, there has to be guidelines, and there has to be rules of, I call it the rules of engagement. Before any paperwork is signed, and I brought up contract last week, and I was very serious about that, and people thought I was joking, but I wasn't. Before anything is signed, it has to be a discussion as to, will anyone have any issues with anything on this contract? So that means, so like, I work for a firm, right? I have a contract, and there's a negotiation that goes along with that contract, and you have to be able to have a dialogue to say, can we change this? Is there room for this? You know, I don't like what this says, you know, can we add this? And then the terms need to be agreed upon. Now, in that process, you'll realize whether this person is capable of or not of carrying out the responsibilities, because that's not a process that happens from one day to the next. It can take months. So if they decide that it's not for them, no shade, no hard feelings, because I've done the growth personally. So I know that maybe they're not ready, or it's not the right fit for them to be along with me on this journey. So maybe I need to walk alone for now, or grab one other person that is, you know? And there's never been a statue erected for anyone who was not criticized. So if you're going to move and shake and do big things, people, and I'm just going to say it and excuse my language, people are going to talk shit about you. They're going to dump all over you. They're going to make up stuff. They're going to spread lies. They're going to spread rumors. They're going to do all kind of crap. And guess what? Your side of the story will be told without you even having to open your mouth. So you continue to shine, rock out, do what you do. And, you know, the Bible says that God will set a table before you in the presence of your enemies, and he will make your enemies your footstool. So what does that mean? You will live to see the day that people who have wronged you in your lifetime paying for that. And it's not for you to have to gloat or anything, but for me, for me, I used to say, and I'm going to be real, or why, you know, he did this and this to me. Why is it okay that they have such a nice life? Or why is it okay that they're living blah, 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 blah. And then come to find out that they're really not. Their life is terrible. They're going through crap. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So we really need to take the lesson from that experience and say to meditate on it. What did I need to learn from this so that I don't repeat this again? And once you learn that lesson, you implement it for your next experience, and then you move on. But there's going to be people who they'll try to ride off your coattails, piggyback. They haven't done the work. They don't have the money. They don't have the expertise, but they like your vision. So they want to, no, you can't come for the ride. And it doesn't make them bad people, but you got to compartmentalize them for where they are. So in the business world, they say everybody can't sit in your front row. And that's just the bottom line.
And everybody's correct is not the same.
Right.
You know, so because you may believe that this is the correct way, doesn't mean somebody else believes that, because they can only believe from their level of understanding. And if their level of understanding is not where yours is, they're never going to understand. They're never going to agree. And they're always going to create chaos.
And you know, the funny part about it was a lot of people said, but you created that. You know what? Sometimes you have to walk away from something to do something better. And at the end of the road for the ladies' room, it was like, this is where we're supposed to end for me, because now I needed to turn this over to who I probably created it for. And you can rock out with it. So when I got up, everybody was like, what the heck? A person doesn't just get up and walk away from something that they created. So if you see someone do that, you know that there is a reason why they have gone and walked away from it. You know,
well, sometimes people do run. So we have to make a correction there.
Right.
There are people who run instead of facing the reality of what's happening. They do run. So there's a difference there. You know, and we have to be clear, because a lot of times, you know, people will hear things and they'll be like, oh, well, it's okay. I didn't. I didn't handle that. But wherever you run to, there you are, because you haven't accepted that lesson. You got to learn that lesson. And even in what you went through, there was a lesson on both sides.
And there was a lesson. Absolutely.
Yeah. And the saying is, and people never get this saying, and it took me a while, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. And what that means is that the teacher was always there. But the student was not ready to absorb the lesson, the words, the pain. They weren't ready. So,
well, first of all, one of those women were never slated to be an original part of the ladies' room. And I think that was one of the primary reasons, because if that person hadn't come into the fold, then some of what went on would not have happened. So it is what it is. Sometimes out of the kindness of our hearts, we open the door for people who aren't worthy of coming through that door.
Because we want to see everybody do better, and you're thinking
we want to see everybody do better. We want to be supportive, but not everybody belongs in our sacred space. We have
build the Bear Project.
Build a Bear Project.
Whether it's a male, female, a business relationship, a sexual relationship, it's all the same. It has to be treated as the same when you're going in. The red flags, when you see them, and you can't fall in love with potential. It just doesn't work.
It doesn't, never.
Let me be clear. Let me be clear this, because we're talking, and I guess we're going to go a little bit over today. And I didn't even know we would get on this topic, but this kind of came up when we did it. But
it all relates.
Let me be clear on this. A lot of it could have been pushed to the side and overlooked, but there's certain parts of business that you cannot overlook. And when you're in a business with people, you have to be able to keep certain things within the business. I think she's frozen. So you cannot go out. I'm sorry? Oh, okay. You cannot go out and disclose what's happening within your business to other people. So one of my major concerns was, you just told the
Tiffany,
entire.
You froze, so we didn't hear anything you were saying.
Okay, I said, let me be clear here. Some of the stuff could have been overlooked. But when you're in business, there's certain things that you cannot overlook. And you cannot take a foundation of a business and take it and talk to the outside world on the content of your inside business, because you don't know who you're talking to on the outside. Okay, so the person that you just gave all of our information to could have been the person with the $10,000 deal that wanted to buy the company. So if you don't understand that aspect of the business, then we got an issue. You know, we need to revamp everything and say, okay, this is what this is, because that person that you were just talking to, who you didn't know whether or not I knew them or not, that person could have been the person who could have took us over the top, who wanted to sign a contract. And in reality, I ended up losing money from someone who was giving me $200 a month to help feed people, Everybody Eats project. But because we have people who don't know the terms of the business, that whole thing dropped.
Yeah, that goes back to etiquette, and that goes back to the contract. People are messy because they were not taught boundaries. They were not taught, you know, what to say when. They were not taught that eating. Okay, so for example, you don't eat the same way at a picnic as you would eat at a 5-star restaurant, and you don't dress the same way either. So there's differences. In a contract for business, especially when you, and I say get into bed because I want to relate it to, you know, a partnership, whether it's sexual or business. When you get into bed with someone, the boundaries have to be clear. I cannot go to another company and discuss what our inner workings of our firm. I cannot do that. And
terminate you
immediately. Because I've been in business for so long, I already know that, but it's still in my contract that it's not allowed. And there's certain things that become, once you're doing it for a while, become common sense. But if they're new to business and they don't have those boundaries, or they don't have that etiquette training, it's very tough for them to know what's right and what's wrong, because they've been doing this crap all their lives. So they're figuring and thinking that it's okay.
Exactly. No one's ever called them to the carpet.
And see, my thing
nobody's pulled them to the table and said, what the hell are you doing? Like, stop running your mouth. What happens at the boardroom and at the boardroom stays in the boardroom. There's not a
all the time
for anybody who's outside, and that goes for your marriage and your relationship. What you discuss with your partner, I call it pillow talk. That's you guys' pillow talk. That's not for you to spill over to your friends, you know, other people that you meet and stuff like that, because now you're taking the boundaries of that person that you have that sacred relationship with and sharing it with other people who you don't know who they are. And now you're breaking the trust without that other person knowing, but eventually it's going to come out. So we're going to have a show on etiquette, because there's so much messiness going on. It just makes me nauseous.
Really,
you know, people just don't know how to handle themselves. They don't know how to dress appropriately. They don't know how to respond and speak appropriately. And it's costing them their lives, their futures, and their careers, and their families.
Absolutely. And when people, you have to understand that when people have already been conditioned for abuse, that's all they know. So they're going to bring abuse to the table. And that's definitely not going to work in a business setting. It's not going to work in a relationship setting either, but it's definitely not going to work in a business setting.
And let me tell you, I've grown up in the corporate world. I've grown up from a little girl. So there's a lot of stuff that I know. And you're like, oh, wow, she knows all of that. And there's just certain things that you just cannot handle. You have to have your boundaries. You have to set boundaries. You have to know what you want and when you want it. Doing this type of the sistership, the ladies' room, is not an easy task, because now we have personalities. We have women, and you know what they say about us. We can't get along to save our lives. You know, you could bring us all to the table and we fall apart. So we've gone on for almost 2 years now, or a year now, and we're still together. Mind you, we have lost a few, okay? And that's just because of the differences that we saw. Not that maybe they were.
That's attrition. That's attrition. That has nothing to do with you, Tiffany.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Nothing to do with you.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Tiffany and I have discussed several times. My boss, who was the CEO of the hospital where I eventually went on to become the director, I designed a program for them and became the director. If what had happened with the ladies' room had have happened with him,
Oh,
he'd have walked you to he'd have called security, walked you to the front door, had all your stuff
with
thrown
the
out.
handcuffs. Mm-hmm.
With the handcuffs, okay? And at one point, he went to one other area in another building that was part of our organization, and he whipped someone's butt. Now, maybe he shouldn't have done that, but, you know, he was a downright brother. He wasn't taking no nonsense, you know? But the bottom line here is some things in business will get you absolutely excommunicated from that business, maybe even from the industry at all. So
That's
you
true.
don't know if you're conditioned for abuse and you come into relationships being abusive, be it a business
Don't wanna
relationship
listen.
or a friendship or relationship, you when you talk about self-fulfilling prophecies, some people create their own self-fulfilling
Absolutely.
prophecies.
And they create their own drama.
They create their own drama. And in business, drama does not fit in to the program.
But what the bad part about
no
it is they'll
emotions
flip it around
there.
and make people think it's you. And you have to fight to continue to do what you have to do to make what's working work. And you don't have to explain yourself to anybody. However,
Right.
it's just, you got to know, that's why I say, switch your lanes, you know your part, stay in your lane. Like I said to people all the time, I'm not a Mama C. I'm not a Therese. I'm not a Jane. You know, I never want to be a co-host because I'm more of a technical back person. I'm now getting comfortable in talking like this because this is something that I would never do, you know, but I realize that people are looking for me to come on, so I come on when I need to come on, but I'm more technical. I will behind the scenes, let me stay behind the scenes, but the people who are in the lead, the people who are the hosts, let's all play the position so that we can get it done. But it's when the ego comes into play and people are like, well,
Right.
you know what? No, I think I could do that. I want to do what she's doing. We got an issue.
Yeah.
And that's what happened with us. Egos came in the way. Oh, you know what? She's too bossy. She's too, no, you know what? You know, and I'm not going to say, but I put in over $8,000, okay, to start building this, not asking for a dime, but for all of us to create something and make it happen so that when it does happen, we all branch and we all win. Never that type of person to say, you know, is this me? Because it's not me, it's about everybody. But you gotta, we all gotta play our part and our role and do what we gotta do. So what Therese does, I can't do. What Mama C does, I can't do. And what Jane brings to the table, spicy, I can't do. But I know what my role is and I know how to help Jane. Therese knows how to help me. Therese does insurance. I was like, all right, Therese, I need some insurance, help me out. And that's what the sistership was about.
Yeah.
A bunch of women who have different businesses who can support each other. If somebody comes to me and says, well, I need so-and-so, I'm like, okay, well, I know Therese. I go within the network that we have first to provide a service and then look outwards because that's what the sistership is about. Okay, and it's been a very hard challenge to keep it together. We're doing great, you know, but it's a challenge in today's world where
It's
they
like
think
herding
women,
cats.
where
Like
they think women can't do it.
We have all of the right people together now, and that's where we are moving and grooving at the level that we are now, because now we have the right group of women together who are all vibing on the same level, doing different things, have different levels of expertise, but we all bring that level of expertise to one platform for the greater good of us all.
But also let me say something too. If men would stay out of the picture sometimes, things would fall into place on its own. Sometimes men get in the way of women doing what they need to do.
Well,
Okay?
this is the thing, you know,
Because
that
there was
saying
a
of women
man
can't.
involved in this whole situation that should never been involved in this situation.
Well,
Yeah.
I gotta say this. That cliche of women can't get along, and it's all BS.
It's all
Okay?
BS.
Because when you're building a business, whether it's men, women, it doesn't matter. It's like herding a bunch of freaking cats. You can't do it. You know, it's very frustrating. One's running here, one's running over there. This one's losing focus. It's just the way that it is across the board, no matter what type of business you're starting.
Right.
These problems and issues that you're having are standard. So the universe is saying to you, okay, so you said that you want to do X, Y, and Z. We're going to see. We're going to put you to the fire. We're going to see if you have what it takes. And you got what it takes. So you just got to continue to forge through.
Absolutely.
Whoever falls by the wayside, they're going to fall by the wayside.
Absolutely. And there's nothing you can do to stop that.
There's nothing that you can do. People sign up to go to college every day. The 100% of admissions do not graduate. People sign up in the beginning of the year to go to the gym. 100% don't accomplish their goals by February or March. They quit. So guess what? You have to keep going no matter what, because you are not responsible for people's actions. You're not responsible for their words, and you're not responsible for their deeds. And that's the bottom line. You put up your boundaries, and you know, you have your vision, you know what you want to accomplish. You have your short-term goals for our show, and you have your long-term goals for our show. And I'm talking to everybody now who's listening, who's in business, relationships, or whatever. So you have your short-term goals and you have your long-term goals, and you got to keep your focus on it. But you're human in the midst of all of that. So you do get the emotions and you do get the feelings, but guess what? Those emotions and feelings have nothing to do with anybody who's involved in the business relationship. You gotta, you know, so you can bounce those off of us privately in a meeting or whatever. But when you got to put that business cap on, it's what's in black and white, and that's all that matters. So
that's all that matters.
This is the
Cross your
contract.
eyes, dot your T's.
These are your duties. There's no discussion about it. If you can't fulfill them, this is what's stated, what's going to happen to your position, and we're moving on. They can call you cold, callous, whatever they want to call you, but this is business.
And mean what you say.
Do you know how many names I've been called over the years? You know, if I gave a damn, we wouldn't be sitting here having this conversation right now.
And mean what you say, and say what you mean when you start a business, because you can't backpedal. Okay. And
Absolutely.
So if you are doing something, you can't say, well, maybe I did that. No, understand and take the process and process it first, and make sure that you're making the right decision. Because if you're making the right decision, God is going to lead you to where you need to go. Because let me tell you something. At the end of all of this, those women were asked, I think it was 8, let's come to the table. Date set, time set, let's sit down. Let me explain to you what this is. You explain to me, and if it's something that you don't like, then you have a chance to tell me. And if it's something
you stop with those nails,
I could tell. If it's something that I could tell you, and I could bring all my paperwork along with you. You know what happened at the end of that? The meeting was canceled.
Because they were running off of emotion.
The meeting was
and emotion does not matter in a business transaction. So and that's just the bottom line.
Let me tell you something. The person that put the meeting together, okay, because I was furious. I said, Lord, I got to talk to somebody, because if I don't, I'm going to lose my shit, excuse my French. So the person actually was a pastor, put the meeting together, and we thought we was going to have this meeting. That meeting never happened. And
we knew we weren't going to have it. We knew it wasn't going to happen because we talked about it.
Because when you're trying to bring a bunch of people to the table and say, hey, this is what it is, when you're wrong, you're wrong. If you ain't wrong, you're going to sit to that table. No problems with sitting to the table at all and saying, hey, what is it? But when you know you're going to sit to the table and your stuff is going to be called out. Go ahead, Jane.
I think with the group of women you have now, if any issues occurred, we're all big enough to sit down at the table and say,
and work it out.
Identify what you've done, take accountability for what you've done, and then say, you're sorry, you misunderstood. I did not do that.
Absolutely.
It was misunderstood. because we are all human. At the end of the day, we are all human and we make mistakes, but not to come to the table. No, no.
And you know what
you
happened
have
at the
now,
end of that?
and
At
I've
the end of
said
that, when that meeting was canceled,
repeatedly,
you know what I said? I'm sorry, Jane. At the end of that, at the
No.
end when that meeting was canceled, I said, I'm now at peace because
Right,
I know
right. Yeah.
what it was.
The efforts were
Yeah, what
made
you have now is
to deal with it.
exceptional. Yeah, what
Yeah.
you
Yeah,
have now, and I've said
what
it
I
to
won't
million
allow you
times.
to do
Yeah.
is continue your journey
Right.
of bad mouthing something
That's correct.
because you're incorrect.
Yeah.
And I will stay and
Yeah.
remain quiet until it's time for me to speak. Okay? I never will badmouth anybody, but if somebody brings it to me, I'm going to tell it, and I'm going to tell the truth. And that's
Yeah.
how I feel across the board, because I say what I say, I mean what I say, and I do what I mean. And I always say.
And people are afraid of the
About
truth,
one time.
Tiff.
Huh?
People are afraid of the truth. They're afraid of the truth.
They don't want to
Yeah, they
look
don't
in the
wanna
mirror.
Yeah. They don't want to hear it.
And,
You know?
and see, if they thought the mother was a toughie, they didn't realize just what a toughie the daughter was. And you know what? You know, I when she talks about staying in your lane, I'm a program designer. I can design programs, but when I put it into her hands, she take it to the next level and the next level and the
Right.
next level. Sometimes I'm sitting here like, wow, I'm looking up, I'm like, wow, you know, because
Yeah.
I know that she has the level of intelligence to take it to the next level.
Yeah.
I have my limitations, and I don't have any problem saying I
Right.
have limitations, okay?
Yeah.
And I'd rather put it in the hands of somebody. I could design any kind of program for women, but I've got to be able to stand back and allow
That's
the
correct.
people who can take
Delegate.
it to the next level
Yeah.
to take it there.
Yeah.
And that's
You know
like
what I'm saying?
I can't. There's some things that I don't know, and I'll call Sharice and say, Sharice, A, B, C, and D, or Jane. I'll call Jane all the time, or Jane will call me and say, let me tell you something, and I'm like, all right, Queen Angel Wisdom, what you got? And then I sit down and say, okay, well then we got to back it up and let's do that. But that's because we listen to each other. Okay, that was
Right.
it's
Right.
okay. Let's do it this way.
Because
But
it's
if we're not
never
willing
done
to fix
viciously.
those mistakes, it doesn't work.
Yeah. It's never done viciously. It's never done maliciously.
Mhm.
It's because we all see the same thing that's happening here. It's a very unique idea and group of women that are willing to push this forward. It's needed. It's unique. And if you don't have the foresight to see that, then you need to very graciously back out.
Back out.
And let me just tell you, I've been trying to get this to this level since I designed and developed the program at North General Hospital many years ago. And since I moved here, now with the right group of women and under my daughter's leadership, it's just, it's taken off. I tell you, sometimes I sit in here, all I have to do is she'll say, Ma, I sent you something to edit. Ma, I need blah, blah, blah. Ma, I need, and I do what I do and allow her to do what she does, you know, and we all appreciate each other's gifts, talents, and intelligence. And that's the key there. We are all operating on a level of intelligence that is emotionally sound and professionally in sync with what needs to be done.
And Sharice, I think you agree with me on this. This is how a business starts. You know, everybody said, well, they got to pay me. I ain't getting paid. Well, where we get stuck is because we want somebody to pay us first before we're putting in the work.
When
if you know,
before we earn the money.
If you know that you're trusting another person and you trust that person, you know that they're going to do right by you when it all gets signed on the dotted line.
But this is the thing. It doesn't matter whether that doesn't matter because that's emotional stuff. Fact of the matter is, when a business starts, you gotta invest 5 years emotionally and mentally, knowing that you might not get a paycheck for 5 years. And unless you have employees or what have you, or you have funding or something, that's a completely different story. But if there's a contract involved to say, These are the duties. These are the responsibilities. This is what I'm looking for. Can you commit to this? This is what I'm able to give in return, whether it's a barter system, whether it's monetary, whatever it is. If there's a contract in place, then there's no ambiguity as to what's happening and what's going on. So people can't come back later and ask you, well, this is what you signed and this is what we discussed. I'm sorry. That's it. There's no other conversation to be had.
Right.
Let's review the contract.
Which in turn,
so there needs to be, I don't care what type of relationship, there has to be a contract in place. That's it.
like I had to say, I said, there's always a vision, and the vision was from Mama C. You can't have partners that tell you, oh, well, you know what? We need to do this ourselves because that's not your mom. It's not your mama. We're doing this.
Non-compete agreement.
Wait a minute. You know what the vision was? This is her journey. We're just on.
Non-compete agreement and non-disclosure agreements need to be
you
a
know
part
what?
of the contract.
You also can't take the vision that God gave somebody else and run
It
with
doesn't
it.
work.
Because God's not going to give you the vision or the plan. God gave me the vision and the plan. And I share that, whatever I need to share, but he is now working through my daughter as well. So a lot of times she knows stuff that I'm thinking, here she comes. I'm like, wow, okay, I see God is guiding her in the way that she needs to be guided for this particular moment in time. So I'm good with that. My daughter's not competing with me and I'm not competing with her. And none of us are competing with each other. We recognize each other's power. We recognize and respect each other's intelligence and what we bring to the table. And that's awesome. That's awesome.
And your gifts. I think we all recognize individual gifts that we have that we're able to lift and raise each other rather than compete with each other.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because
important.
the bottom line is nobody no one can compete with the vision and the plan that God gives to anybody. You need to go find out what God's vision and plan is for you and work that, because you will never be successful trying to steal somebody else's vision and then make it work as though it's your own.
And you are so right. And this is the last thing I want to say and piggyback off of that. People don't even realize, they miss their blessing.
That's right.
Because they're so busy meddling in what somebody else is doing. Or
come on, girl.
When opportunity knocks, right? You gotta be they say, are you gonna be at the door? Okay, that's fine being at the door, but are you dressed? Do you have your shoes on? Do you have your bag? Do you have your toolbox if you need your toolbox? Are you ready?
Are you ready?
You know, and stop trying to take somebody else's readiness and piggyback off of that. That's messy and it's destructive behavior. And that's just the bottom line.
And
so
it shows the level of low self-esteem and high security. And anybody who sees that ain't gonna fool with you.
And by all means, God bless them, because God bless them, you know, and let them move on. We wish nobody any bad luck, any harm. Do what works for you.
Yep. What do I always say to you?
But we're not going to bash each other in the process. And I think this came up because it was something that needed to be said. And I guess this must have been the right show to say it.
Part of he said, she said.
Part of he said, she said. Absolutely. It must have been a great opportunity for us to say it, because a lot of people have been saying, hey, what's going on? Or you get that phone call. I've gotten phone calls like, Tiffany, what's happening here?
What's up? What's going on with that?
And I had to, that's when I will explain. When somebody calls me because I'm hearing nonsense, that's when I will explain. Because other than that, it's nobody's business. However, it is very hard when you're trying to start a business and nobody knows that we don't know where we're getting it from every day or how we're doing it, because, you know, we have struggles just like everybody else has struggles. My last unemployment check is this week. Okay. Let me keep it real. So we're trying to figure that out. So there's stress everywhere. We all are going through stress. But do you smile? Because through all of that, I still got to pick myself up and keep going, and I need to smile. So everybody, and I tell people that inbox me sometimes, oh, I said, wait, the pretty, you see all this stuff, this nail stuff you see in my room. I've been doing this since I was 9 years old. I didn't just get this. You know, it was accumulated.
Years to accumulate.
Years. This
The
is
story behind the glory.
yeah.
Yeah,
Is not,
always a story
because,
behind the glory.
you know, I
Yeah.
had the money because no, honey, I struggle. And I struggle every day like everybody else because it's this the COVID-19 got us all struggling. But when I left, I didn't leave my job because I still got my job as management for a dental office. Okay, but we haven't been open in a year almost. You know,
Almost a year.
So, oh yeah, we got worries. You know, I gotta make sure. Oh, my light's gonna be on. Can I pay my propane? Can I, you know, whatever. But in the meantime, I'm still like I smile, and then I gotta smile because you know what? It's how many is in the group? It's 5, 6, 7 of us. We started something. I can't let nobody down. I'm not gonna let us down. Not me, us, because now we started this together. So even on them days,
Right.
I'm like, oh man, I don't know if I could do this. Sometimes I'm in Therese inbox like Therese. I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
I gotta tell you this before we close out.
Uh-huh.
Whatever you decided, whatever your gift is and your passion, and you've decided that you're going to run with it, that is the very thing that will attack you. So for me, you know, I'm a financial advisor. Well, guess what? I don't really want advice from someone who doesn't understand where I am or where I've been through. So I went through hell financially, and I'll be the first one to say it. That's another show. I'm not going to get into details about it.
Because we're going to keep it real.
Okay. Yeah. So I went through hell financially, but you know what? I pushed through. I'm pushing through. I forged through. I've been, you know, I've been homeless. Like I've been all of that. So I know when I sit down with someone and they're like, oh, wow, she knows what she's talking about. Yeah, because I lived it. I wasn't born with a silver spoon in my mouth. So I can tell you what you need to do to get out of this mess that you're in or protect yourself from it becoming a mess. So for you, you want to start and be able to help and empower women. Well, guess what? You were sent a bunch of broken women. So now you had to navigate through that to understand that, to recognize the signs and to say, okay, is she willing to grow or not?
Yes.
If she's willing to grow, we can rock. If she's not willing to grow,
I
still love you anyway. We keep it moving. And that's it. You know, so the main thing that you decide is going to be your passion, you will get attacked by it. That's just
absolutely. Let me tell you, I've had to duck and dodge like a boxer for years. Okay, like get caught.
And we sat in this house. We sat in this house for a year, almost and a half, with no propane because we couldn't afford it.
We had no heat. A couple of winters we had no heat.
Okay,
you know?
And still we all struggle and doing everything because everybody, we keeping it real because there's people out there that's still going through the same thing. There's sometimes when my cable shuts off, my phone shut off. I ain't pleased. Yeah, okay. Y'all can think it's pretty. Okay. Yeah. But we get up every day and we smile and we make it happen, the sistership. We do what we got to do to push forward because we know after the COVID-19, after this whole thing that, you know, this is our time now to shine. This is our time now.
We want to be positioned. Okay, we're positioning ourselves during this time. We're not sitting back feeling sorry for ourselves or talking about what we don't have. We're building a foundation that will house a building that will be eternal.
And once that foundation is solid, you're going to build on top and it's never going to tumble.
It's never going to tumble.
Believe that. Everybody, we all see that vision, and at the end of that tunnel, when they say sign the dotted line and we got this, guess what? All of us that put in that work, as we put in that work, we're right there. But you got to know who your people are. That's why I said know your tribe and know who's going to rock with you when they need to rock with you. Okay, I got you. You got you. Okay, I might not have $1 right now, but I can help you do this. I might not have $2 right now, but I can help you do this. Let's barter and trade because right now.
I mean, you guys should see me sometimes when I go into the grocery store. I may have only $20 and I'm trying to figure out okay, there's 6 of us in this house. What can I buy? What's on sale? What can I do with this $20 that will provide for our needs with respect to food? I do it. My daughter does the same thing. We're working together. We're not bumping heads or being upset because we're struggling financially right now. We're keeping it real. And I always tell them, people who know me, I'm very transparent, okay? Because you know what? People can see through falseness. So I don't come with any falseness at all. People who can really help can see through falseness. And if you're coming false, that means people can't trust you. So I'm always transparent. I'm going to tell you the truth about what the situation is right now, because I don't live on a foundation called lies.
Listen, we're giving out turkeys on the 20th, turkeys and hams. Hell, I need one of them turkeys my damn self. But it's always, you know, who can you give back to? Who can we do this for, or whatever? Because that little can that I might not eat, I can pass on to the next person who could eat that from that, because I don't eat. So we have people donate hams and turkeys to us, so we're able to give that to them. I could use a ham, but I'm still eating, so I'm good. So what about the one that's at the hotel that don't have nothing right now?
Right.
Can we pass it to them? Because eventually, in the end, we're all going to win. But right now, we got to help each other. So we take we take all that we can to provide for the other ones who cannot. Because I'm all right. I might be struggling, but I'm all right. So I can figure out. Okay, well, let me figure it out. These kids who need help right now with toys. We're having a toy drive with the ladies at EED and the sistership on the 20th. We're also doing the 18th in the Bronx. These are people in need that need certain things. There's one that I know of. They lost everything. They're in a hotel. For Thanksgiving, they took them their whole meal. So the kids will be coming up. We won't be taking pictures of any of the kids. We won't be naming anybody's names. But I didn't put out a donation and say, oh, I need this, I need that. You know, if you wanted to help, you help. There was no need for me to put out a fundraiser nowhere, because you know what? Me and the ladies at EED said, you know what, we'll figure it out. And it's going to come from somewhere. And lo and behold, I swear to you all, it came from somewhere, because my inbox was going ping, 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 ping. And there was people that was like, okay, I need to send what? How much I need to send? Okay, 25 per kid. And we got it. And I never once put out, oh, I need to fundraise, because I didn't want anyone to feel, because then we have that perception of, oh, why is she doing that? What's that? We start to flip it around. Oh, they're using that money for something. No, not a dime of it comes to me. All of it is to help what we're doing with these
And before we close out, I have to tell a little story. Jane came in with 10 turkeys and 10 hams that was set for this program for the holiday.
She don't like you to tell that. She don't like you to tell that.
I'm going to tell it now, Jane. Just let me tell it for a minute, okay? And then she came and she handed us $50 that she wanted to give us something for the kids here. We said no. But first of all, the kids in this house, they have a roof over their head. They have a loving home. There's food in the refrigerator. Okay, so we can't do what we would normally do during the Christmas holiday, but they understand. And so we took that $50 and put it toward children who didn't have anything. Okay, so I think it's important that we understand that there are people who really, we're not in need compared to a lot of people, you know? So when we recognize that and are willing to pay it forward to help others, that's an incredible feeling. And Jane, you are such a sweetheart. I just had to tell that story. You know, I know you don't like people to know everything, but you know what? That was such a wonderful thing you did with the food and the money, and we put that money toward toys for the children who don't have. And you know what? This is how we all operate. We operate
because you know what, Deb?
What?
You know what? So at some point in our lives, we were those people. We were those children. We were. So if I have a little, I can share that half of that little with someone else.
Absolutely.
It's just the way it should be. It's just the way it should be.
Right, right.
Yep.
And while my daughter's trying to cover expenses for the business, what I have, I use for the house to cover whatever
Right.
I can to keep the roof over us,
Right.
to do what we need to do. But we're working jointly, you know,
Teamwork.
to make it work.
Teamwork.
And that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I know we've gone way over today, but this
Yeah.
has been a great dialogue. And hopefully the people who were participating and listening today got something out of it, because you know what? We're just a group of women who want to help. We have our own challenges, and trying to do what we're doing is an immense challenge, but we're doing it, and we're doing it joyfully.
And it
And you
can
know
be
what?
done.
And every day I smile. I don't get up and say, oh my God, are we going to have heat today or next week, or for the winter? Are we going to have this? I don't get up being fearful about what we don't have. I'm thankful and extremely grateful for what we do have, and we have each other. And you know what? If we have to cuddle in here, when we didn't have those 2 winters, we didn't have heat. We went out and we bought footy pajamas. And those footy pajamas kept us warm, and there were blankets and whatever. It worked, you know. So the bottom line here is we just have to learn to be grateful. And when we have incredible people in our lives, and we have incredible women who are part of the sistership and part of our lives in general, and we are very thankful this holiday season for all of you.
And on that note, I guess we need to start closing out, because we have gone over time. But this this was amazing. You know, we're just a group of women with real struggles going through it, and hopefully this information is helping other people too. So we're on a sistership.
We on a
Sistership. Yes, we are.
We on a sistership.
Come
on, Jay.
We got
a little bop over there. Yeah.
I'm doing my white dance.
Come on, Spicy.
Let's talk about this. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about this. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. We're my sisters. We got this, sisters. You roll with me and I roll with you. We're my sisters. We got this, sisters. You roll with me and I roll with you. Substance.
Bye, everybody.
We on a mission.
Hey guys, thank you for having me. Bye bye.
Because we've been through the rain.